Continued from the previous file, Pygmalion, page 42. When Higgins decides to give him £5, Pickering expresses his apprehensiveness about the misuse of that money. But he contradicts by stating that he will not, quote, save it, spare it and live idle on it, unquote. Another comment of Doolittle on the accumulation of savings permitted by desire to live idly is a common objection raised against the capitalist. The second appearance of Doolittle takes place after Eliza's successful performance in the party as a lady. It is very interesting to note that Doolittle, by the formidable time gap he has acquired, the status of a speaker on middle-class morality. Everybody is astonished to see him in a changed status. However, for his present status, he blames Henry Higgins because he is disgusted with the contradiction prevalent in his present status. Actually, Higgins helped him to get a chance to earn money by delivering talk on moral reforms sponsored by a trust. But he believes that it is the hypocrisy present in the core of the middle-class society. He also believes that when he was an undeserving poor, he was in a better position. His relation with several women without the marital bond exposes the hypocrisy prevalent in the men-dominant society. Now, due to the changed status, he is forced to marry Eliza's stepmother. Thus, Doolittle's character is a bundle of paradoxes, and Shaw exposes the sham respectability, moral vacuity, and non-effectiveness of the so-called morality through the portrayal of Doolittle in Pygmalion. Explanations. 1. The English have no respect for their language and will not teach their children to speak it. Continues up to, the reformer we need most today is an energetic phonetic enthusiast. That is why I have made such a one the hero of a popular play. The quoted passage is from the preface of G.B. Shaw's well-discussed drama Pygmalion. The preface is unique in the sense that it deals with the need of phonetics and speech training for the purpose of making a native speaker of English speak accurately with proper accent and intonation. Shaw has attempted to trace the origin and growth of linguistic phonetics and also its application. In the present passage, Shaw has explicitly stated that the English have no respect for their language and even produces English very badly. Keeping in mind, Shaw has ventured to write this drama in order to focus the need of modification in English language. For this purpose, he has chosen Professor Henry Higgins, an expert in phonetics, modeled after the famous English phonetician Henry Sweet. The above passage evidently reveals Shaw's anxiety about the contemporary state of the English language, its spelling system and pronunciation. Shaw is well aware of the inconformity between the page 43 spelling and pronunciation of words as well as the dialectal accentual difference prevalent in England. For the rectification and modification in the English language, according to Shaw, the learning of phonetics is highly needed. In order to meet the need, phonetic experts like Henry Sweet should come forward. This idea has acted actively behind the choice of Henry Higgins, the professor of phonetics, as the hero of Pygmalion. It's all right, is gentleman. Look at his boots, in bracket, explaining to the note taker, bracket close. "She thought you were a copper's mark, sir." Unquote. These lines are spoken by one of the bystanders in Act 1 of Shaw's Pygmalion. To avoid rain, some people have taken shelter in the portico of St. Paul's Church at Covent Garden. A flower girl, later to be identified as Eliza Doolittle, also takes shelter in that place. It is seen that she collects 6 pence from Mrs. Hill and approaches to Colonel Pickering to buy flowers from her. She insists him, though he expresses that he does not have any change. He further tells her that she has got 3 halfpence and gives her that. At this point, a bystander wants Eliza to give the gentleman a flower in return of that money. Otherwise, she will be suspected as a beggar and arrested by the police. He also draws her attention to the note taker in bracket Professor Higgins bracket close, seriously engaged in note taking. Eliza suspects that her character will be tainted by the note taker and makes an appeal to the crowd to save her from Higgins. At this time, Higgins inquires about the happening. After making a close scrutiny of the note taker from head to toe, the bystander tells him that the girl has taken him to be a police spy. Here the speaker has used the phrase, quote, "copper's nark," unquote, in order to mean a police informer. The word copper is a slang for policeman and narc a slang for spy. Such use of slang has brought the play to the common man's understanding. Another point to note is that begging is illegal in London. Such statements indicate the socio-economic condition of contemporary England. Number 3. Simply phonetics, the science of speech. That's my profession, also my hobby. Happy is the man who can make a living by his hobby. You can spot an Irishman or a Yorkshireman by his brogue. I can place any man within 6 miles. I can place him within 2 miles in London, sometimes within 2 streets. It is Professor Higgins speaking the above statement in Act 1 of Shaw's Pygmalion. A number of people have taken shelter at the portico of St. Paul's Church at Covent Garden. One of them is note taker in bracket Higgins bracket close, taking note of the speeches of the people, especially the flower girl. While the people have started leaving the shelter after the stop of rains, a gentleman in bracket Colonel Pickering bracket closed curiously asks Higgins how he guesses, page 44, correctly which place a man belongs to. With great enthusiasm, Higgins makes the quoted statement. Higgins informs the gentleman is a professor of phonetics, the science of speech. With a touch of delight, he states that his hobby and profession are the same. He loves this subject and gets pleasure from his study. He claims that he can spot an Irishman or Yorkshireman by his dialectal pronunciation. Even he can identify the place which a man belongs to. He can do this simply by listening to him for a few minutes. He further claims that he can spot a man within 2 miles in London and sometimes within 2 streets. It is worthy to note that the note-taker himself reveals his activities before the audience, whose curiosity about the future action increases. It is interesting to note that Higgins' speech is different from the rest of the characters so far introduced. Number 4. What is life but a series of inspired follies? The difficulty is to find them to do. Never lose a chance. It doesn't come every day. In Act 2 of G.B. Shaw's play Pygmalion, Professor Henry Higgins utters the quoted lines. Eliza has come to Professor Henry Higgins's residence cum laboratory. She expresses her wish to learn standard English with a view to getting a job as an assistant in a ladies' flower shop. Higgins with great enthusiasm accepts the proposal. Mrs. Pierce requests Pickering not to encourage her master to do such a foolish thing. In response to that, Higgins utters the above quoted expression. Professor Higgins, who is now in a state of elation, opines that life is nothing but a series of inspired follies. The only difficulty is to find and get a chance to commit such follies. He even advises not to lose such a chance as it does not come every day. It suggests that Professor Higgins is thoroughly dedicated to his profession and his sound knowledge gathered so far. It is evident that he does not want to lose such a golden opportunity of transforming a quote, guttersnipe unquote, into a duchess. The very speech indicates that a true committed scholar becomes a philosopher when he gets an opportunity to carry out long desired research and study. Number 5. Oh, you have no feeling, heart in you. You don't care for nothing but yourself. Eliza utters the quoted expression in the Act 2 of G.B. Shaw's play Pygmalion. Eliza has come to Professor Higgins in order to get trained in standard English speech for the purpose of getting a job as an assistant in ladies' flower shop. Professor Higgins enthusiastically accepts the proposal in spite of his lady attendant Mrs. Pierce's raising several problematic issues relating to that. When Mrs. Pierce questions him what will happen to her when he finishes his teaching, Higgins answers inconsiderately and roughly without caring for Eliza's presence. He says that he does not, page 45, care what will happen to her if he leaves her in the gutter. That is an ignoble life. He puts this issue before Mrs. Pierce. Listening to that, Eliza reacts blatantly and expresses the quoted speech. Eliza is straightforward and simple working class girl, but she is individualistic and self-honored. She feels hurt and so registers her protest against the opinion of Higgins. She says that he lacks a kind heart and he is very selfish. He does not care for anybody except himself. He does not have the mind to honor others' feelings and is very mean. In continuation with this, she does not hesitate to state that he should be ashamed of himself. It is evident that Eliza tries to reveal her strong personality and sense of self-respect. She does not honor a person who hurts her feelings. Through this speech, Eliza exposes the hypocrisy of the middle-class educated people who are indifferent to the feelings of the working-class people. Number 6. I wouldn't have ate it, only I am too ladylike to take it out of my mouth. The above line is made by the flower girl Eliza in the Act 2 of Shaw's drama Pygmalion. Eliza has come to Higgins's residence cum laboratory and requests him to teach her standard English so that she can act as an attendant in the flower shop of a lady. For this, she even offers to pay money to Higgins. However, the action takes a new turn when Higgins takes up the challenge of transforming quote, guttersnipe unquote, Eliza into a duchess. Eliza gets shocked at Higgins' treatment and the way he instructs his lady attendant, Mrs. Pierce, to cleanse the dirt off her body. He further expresses his opinion that he is not at all interested in the future of Eliza and what she will do after the completion of training or his experiment. At this point, Eliza comes forward to declare that Higgins is very selfish. She does not intend to take any training, but Higgins tries to tempt her and offers a chocolate to her. In the midst of such crucial juncture, filled with hope and apprehension, Eliza frankly asks how he can assure that the chocolate had not been drugged to attract her. In reaction to that, Higgins instantly breaks it into 2 pieces and puts one piece into his mouth and throws the other half into her mouth, opened to say something. She reacts by stating that she is not interested in eating chocolate and she would not have eaten it. However, the entire event has hurt her ladylike personality. Such a statement indicates the very strong personality of Eliza, outspokenly demands respect from the society, even the educated one. Number 7. I find that the moment I let a woman make friends with me, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and a damned nuisance. I find page 46 that the moment I let myself make friends with a woman, I become selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. When you let them into your life, you find that the woman is driving at one thing and you are driving at another. This speech is of Professor Henry Higgins, the hero of Shaw's play Pygmalion. Towards the end of the act, Pickering asks Higgins if he is a man of good character where women are concerned. In reaction, Higgins asks him if he has met a man of good character where women are concerned. Pickering in reply states that he has often met such type of men. Cutting him across straightforwardly, Higgins makes the above statement regarding his understanding of women. The passage quoted from the speech of Higgins reflects the speaker's character to some extent. According to him, no sooner he allows a woman to become his friend, she becomes jealous, demanding, and suspicious. In that, she creates problem for him and irritates him through her activities. Thereby, she becomes a nuisance to him. He further states that the moment he develops a friendship with a woman, he becomes selfish and tyrannical. Thus, women upset everything. Moreover, he argues before Pickering that when a man allows a woman to come to his life, he would find the difference with her in relation to the aim in life. Thus, the present speech throws light on Higgins' character. He has developed indifference to women and also negative views about the opposite sex. Number 8. All I ask is my rights as a father, and you are the last man alive to expect me to let her go for nothing. For I can see you are one of the straight sort. Garner, well, what's a 5-pound note to you? And what's Eliza to me? It is the speech of Alfred Doolittle in the Act 2 of G.B. Shaw's Pygmalion. Alfred Doolittle, Eliza's father, has come to Professor Henry Higgins with an intention of extorting money by launching a complaint of taking his daughter. However, Higgins is not a fool with his cleverness as well as shrewdness. He smells the actual intention of Mr. Doolittle at the very first point. When Doolittle tries to blackmail him, Higgins threatens him to send for the police. Doolittle instantly changes his mood, tells him with a tone of request that he is concerned about the honor and safety of his daughter. Higgins replies bluntly that he should take his daughter away at once. Finding no avenues, Doolittle comes to the actual point and informs that he is not interested in Eliza and does not want her back. According to him, Eliza, as a young girl, knows about what is good for her. She can stay with him if she considers that to be helpful for her. However, he must be paid for it. He frankly demands £5 in exchange for his beautiful daughter. Page 47. The quoted passage suggests that the poverty can drag a person to a deplorable level. Mr. Doolittle's helpless condition due to his poverty is blatantly exposed in the above line. Number 9. Oh, I can't be bothered with young women. My idea of a lovable woman is something as like you as possible. I shall never get into the way of seriously liking young women. Some habits lie too deep to be changed. In bracket, rising abruptly and walking about, jingling his money and his keys in his trouser pockets, bracket close. Besides, they are all idiots. It is Professor Higgins speaking in the Act 3 of G.B. Shaw's Pygmalion. Higgins's mother has invited her guests at her residence on the occasion of at-home day. Higgins has also come to his mother's residence and informs her about his teaching of a flower girl called Eliza to make her good at English. Mrs. Higgins mistakenly assumes that her son takes interest in Eliza for his personal interest. She opines that it is pathetic to find that her son has not yet fallen, quote, in love with anyone under 45, unquote. She further asks him, quote, when will you discover that there are some nice-looking young women about, unquote. In this context, Higgins frankly states the above statement. Higgins is indifferent to women. He frankly says that he does not want to be bothered by any young woman. He is greatly impressed by his mother, and his idea of a lovable woman is related to his mother. He expresses his inability to like or love young women seriously, as it is his inherent nature hard to be changed. He further claims that the young women are all idiots beyond the level of toleration. The quoted statement of Higgins suggests how mother-son fixation functions so deeply in the mind of the son, who even at the age of 40 cannot love or like a young woman. It hints at the psychological complexities working in the minds of Higgins as those in the minds of Tom in Lawrence's Sons and Lovers. Number 10. You see, we are all savages, more or less. We are supposed to be civilized and cultured, to know all about poetry and philosophy and art and science and so on. But how many of us know even the meaning of these names? In bracket, to Miss Hill, bracket close, what do you know of poetry? In bracket, to Mrs. Hill, bracket close, what do you know of science? In bracket, indicating Freddie, bracket close, what does he know of art or science or anything else? What the devil do you imagine I know of philosophy? The passage has been quoted from the Act 3 of G.B. Shaw's Pygmalion. It is Higgins speaking to Mrs. Ainsford Hill at his mother's at-home day festival. Mrs. Higgins is aware of the abnormal manners and behavior of her son and therefore does not want him to be present at the festival hour. The way he talks and opines during his interaction, page 48, with a guest may hurt the guests. During his talk with Mrs. Eynsford Hill, one such comment is made by him. Higgins opines that when we the human beings are all savages, more or less, we are supposed to be civilized and cultured and to know, quote, all about poetry and philosophy and art and science and so on, unquote. According to Higgins, the most of us do not know the meaning of these names. Without any hesitation, he asks Mr. Eynsford Hill what she understands by poetry, science and arts and others. He further asks her what she imagines about his knowledge of philosophy. All these statements are indicative of Mrs. Higgins's preoccupation with the former knowledge and at the same time ignorance about the social manners. He forgets that people come to the festival in a festive mood, not in a mood of exchanging formal knowledge. This indifference is also visible in his relationship with Eliza, which is without a touch of emotion. Number 11. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it is to take a human being and change her into a quite different human being by creating a new speech for her. It is filling up the deepest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul. Professor Higgins makes this statement in the Act 3 of G.B. Shaw's play Pygmalion. Higgins and other guests have assembled at the residence of Mrs. Higgins on the occasion of her at-home day festival. She is informed by her son that he and Pickering are engaged in teaching the flower girl called Eliza to speak good English suitable for a duchess. It is a difficult job to teach Eliza, and they are taking huge pains for this purpose. In continuation with this, Higgins tells this to his mother. Higgins, with a touch of personal involvement, expresses that diligently they are doing the job of transforming a flower girl into a duchess-like lady. They are not only teaching her phonetics and standard spoken English, but also trying to transform her soul. They are training her in all aspects in order to make her a lady fit for middle-class society. Through such teaching and training, he is trying to uplift the working-class girl. In a way, he is doing an act of social reform. The degree of change which they intend to bring in the life of Eliza is immense, and so this task is tiresome and difficult. The above statement hints at the degree of Mr. Higgins's dedication to an involvement in transforming Eliza from a gutter snipe to a duchess. Shaw here indirectly suggests that who want to reform the society to the act of teaching should sincerely devote themselves to teaching as Higgins is doing. Number 12. You have never been broken in properly to the social routine. In brackets, strolling over to the piano, bracket closed, I rather enjoy dipping into it occasionally myself. Continued in the next file.